And where will I sleep in the meantime? Well, I don't know. Look. Nice drawer. You'd be comfortable in there. I do not want to sleep in a drawer. Well, here. I think I will take your bedroom.
Mine.
Well, where would I stay? In the drawer, mastered, I Dream of Jeannie turned a stranded astronaut, a mysterious bottle, and a puff of pink smoke into one of television's most enduring fantasies. Premiering in 1965, it paired Barbara Eden's mischievous Jeannie with Larry Hagman's tightly wound Major Tony Nelson, alongside Bill Daly's ever-scheming Major Roger Healy and Hayden Rohr's perpetually suspicious Dr. Bellows, all orbiting around a secret that could end Tony's career with a single blink. Across 5 seasons and 139 episodes, the series mixed space-age optimism with ancient magic, shifting from black and white to vivid color as Jeannie's bottle and costume became icons of 1960s television. Yet behind the canned laughter and split-second smoke effects was a stranger story of a liquor store prop turned Smithsonian artifact, a lead actress filming in disguise, a studio obsessed with a belly button, rewrites that changed Jeannie's very nature, and a leading man whose off-screen behavior almost pushed him out of his own show. These are 15 surprising facts about I Dream of Jeannie. Barbara Eden didn't walk into Jeannie's bottle as an unknown. A year before the series debuted, she had already weathered magical chaos in a different project, the 1964 film The Brass Bottle, where she played Sylvia Kenton, a fiancée whose life is upended when her partner accidentally frees an ancient genie. The story beats of modern romance colliding with supernatural interference felt uncannily like a trial run for what would follow. Sidney Sheldon saw that performance and recognized how naturally Eden balanced incredulity, charm, and comic timing. When it came time to cast Jeannie, however, he initially pursued a different image. Determined not to invite comparisons with Bewitched, where Elizabeth Montgomery's blonde Samantha Stevens already dominated, he focused on finding a brunette. By his own later description, he auditioned every beautiful brunette in town, and none quite matched the blend of mischief and warmth he wanted. Eventually, he brought Eden in to read, and her prior work had already shown she could inhabit a world where wishes and misunderstandings constantly collided. When she landed the role, she reportedly asked whether the producers realized she was blonde, given their earlier preference.
They did.
By the time the show moved to color, her performance had already defined Jeannie so completely that hair color no longer mattered. One of the most recognizable objects in 1960s television did not begin its life on a prop shelf. Jeannie's bottle came from a liquor store. In 1964, Jim Beam released a special decanter, a smoky green glass bottle with a distinctive curving silhouette. The Jeannie production team spotted it and saw possibility. For the black and white first season, they decorated it in black and gold, choosing patterns that would stand out clearly on monochrome screens. When the series moved to color, the art department stripped the paint and redesigned it in rich purples, pinks, and golds that matched Jeannie's new costume and the show's brighter palette. The stopper gained its own small legend. On the original beach location, the bottle Tony discovers was reportedly capped with a cork from an old Grand-Dad bourbon bottle, a quick substitution after the intended stopper was lost in the sand. Decades after the show ended, the bottle's journey from barware to cultural artifact was complete. In 2017, a Season 1 style bottle from director Gene Nelson's estate sold at auction for over $30,000, and in 2024, Barbara Eden donated a later series Jeannie bottle and her costume to the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. The day NBC officially greenlit I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara Eden arrived on set with crucial personal news. She was pregnant. Rather than replace her or postpone production, the team chose to hide the pregnancy entirely on camera. Costume designer Gwen Wakeling began adding fabric, and Jeannie's outfit grew more modest with higher waistbands, fuller veils, and layers that drifted and disguised. Directors favored close-ups or framed Eden behind sofas, potted plants, and doorways. One anecdote captures the improvisation involved perfectly. Director Gene Nelson asked her to film a scene in a bikini. Eden explained her condition, and to mask the shape quickly, the crew strapped a tire around her midsection, covered it with towels, and adjusted camera angles to keep the makeshift solution out of frame. Eden's son Matthew was born in August 1965 during a scheduled production break. When the series returned, Jeannie stepped out of her bottle exactly as before, the pregnancy never mentioned on screen. It is hard to think of I Dream of Jeannie without hearing the lively, wordless theme that dances through its opening credits, yet that tune didn't appear until the second season. The first year opened with a jazz waltz by Richard West accompanied by a narrated introduction explaining Tony Nelson's space mission, his accidental island landing, and the discovery of Jeannie's bottle. Sidney Sheldon reportedly disliked it, finding it too subdued. Earlier in development, the famed songwriting team of Jerry Goffin and Carole King had submitted a fully fledged theme called Jeannie, and given their history with pop hits, choosing it might have led the show in a very different musical direction. Sheldon passed, and the series went to air with the West composition instead. The transition to color in Season 2 offered an opportunity to reintroduce the show entirely. Sheldon commissioned Hugo Montenegro to compose a new piece, and animator Frizz Frilling created a playful title sequence to match. Montenegro's bright, syncopated melody gave the series an instantly distinctive sound, exotic without being heavy, light without being trivial. Lyricist Buddy Kaye even wrote words for the theme, but producers chose to keep it instrumental, finding that its wordless bounce allowed it to support any storyline without dictating meaning. Decades after Jeannie and Major Nelson navigated life in Cocoa Beach together, the actors who played them reunited under very different circumstances on Dallas. In the early 1990s, Barbara Eden joined the nighttime soap as Lee and Dega, a woman from J.R. Ewing's past determined to exact revenge. The casting was intentional. Larry Hagman, now synonymous with JR, suggested Eden for the part and personally encouraged her to join the show. For viewers who remembered Eden as a devoted Jeannie spending every episode trying to please Major Nelson, watching her systematically dismantle JR's world provided a jarring but compelling contrast. The warmth and charm that once fueled wish fulfillment now powered strategic retaliation. The writers threaded in a subtle nod for longtime fans by making Lee Ann's maiden name Nelson, a quiet echo of their 1960s sitcom connection that served as a wink to anyone who had grown up with I Dream of Jeannie. Jeannie's costume, designed with a bare midriff framed by a fitted top and full pantaloons, allowed Barbara Eden's navel to appear occasionally on screen for a time. Then a single question turned it into a national talking point. Entertainment columnist Mike Connolly jokingly wondered in print whether Jeannie had a belly button at all. NBC, wary of running afoul of broadcast standards, responded with a strict directive. Eden's navel was not to be shown. The decision sparked what became known informally as the no navel rule. Costume designers adjusted the outfit so its waistband sat higher, and panels, beads, and carefully placed fabric obscured the area. The inconsistency was evident to anyone watching closely. In some episodes, extras in bikinis displayed navels without objection, and other actresses appeared without the same restrictions. The focus seemed to rest squarely on the star whose image defined the show. Eden later recounted attending meetings where her navel was discussed in detail by executives, a level of scrutiny that now sounds surreal and which reflected ongoing tensions around modesty, sexuality, and prime-time television's self-imposed boundaries. Much of the lived-in warmth between Major Tony Nelson and Major Roger Healy came from improvisation. Larry Hagman resisted playing Tony purely as a rigid foil and frequently added small lines, reactions, or bits of physical business to scenes. Bill Daly as Roger joined him, and before takes they would sometimes plan gestures or activities together, rummaging through a filing cabinet, shuffling papers, reacting in exaggerated ways to keep dialogue scenes from feeling static. Barbara Eden later said Hagman's improvisations occasionally surprised her, forcing her to react in real time, and those genuine starts and hesitations made it into the final cut, giving Jeannie's responses a natural and unforced quality. On a compressed television schedule, deviations from the script risked delays, and the tension between adherence to the page and spontaneity behind the camera continued throughout the series. Yet viewers saw not just two actors reciting lines, but two men who seemed to share a history beyond what the script spelled out. The figure who sets Jeannie's story in motion in the earliest version of her origin is the Blue Djinn, the powerful being who imprisons her in the bottle after she refuses to marry him. When the series brought the blue djinn on screen in the season 2 episode Happy Anniversary, the role went to Michael Ansara, Barbara Eden's husband at the time. Under heavy makeup and costume, Ansara played the menacing djinn opposite Eden's Jeannie, giving their confrontations a layered dynamic. On screen, he embodied the force that robbed her of freedom. Off-screen, they went home together after work. It was one of several instances where the show blurred the line between fictional relationships and real-world connections, even if viewers remained unaware of the personal link at first. The earliest version of Jeannie's story carried a tragic undercurrent. She was a mortal woman cursed into geniehood, separated from her peasant parents, and forced into servitude. By the 3rd season, that thread had been quietly set aside, and Jeannie was now presented as having always been a genie, born to genie parents and surrounded by supernatural relatives. Her mother appeared, played by Eden herself, as a mischievous and disapproving matriarch, and a sister also arrived to complicate Tony's life further. The tonal shift mirrored a broader strategic one, as Bewitched was thriving with its gallery of magical family members dropping into Samantha and Darren's suburban life. Giving Jeannie a similarly populated background allowed writers to generate new plots without revisiting the same exposition, though the cost was coherence. Lines about mortal parents disappeared and the weight of the original curse lightened, replaced by stories about family rivalries, ancient traditions, and competing obligations. As Larry Hagman's on-set behavior grew more erratic under the influence of alcohol and personal frustration, producers began to contemplate a future for the series without him. Discussions reportedly reached the point of considering bringing in actor Darren McGavin as a new male lead, with storylines crafted to allow Jeannie to shift her affections and adventures to a different human partner. Barbara Eden recognized the risk when she learned of the idea and advised strongly against it, telling producers that swapping out the male lead midstream would be a serious misstep both creatively and commercially. Her stance helped close down the option, and Hagman remained Major Nelson through the end of the 5th season. After I Dream of Jeannie ended its prime-time run, the character found new life on Saturday mornings. In 1973, Hanna-Barbera launched an animated series loosely inspired by the original, shifting the focus to a teenage sufferer who discovers Jeannie and her apprentice companion. Stories centered on high school adventures, dating mishaps, and magical misfires tuned to a younger audience. Barbara Eden did not voice the cartoon Jeannie, but the character design, featuring a ponytail, crop top, and puffed pants, clearly drew from her live-action portrayal. Among the voice cast was a young Mark Hamill, several years before his breakout as Luke Skywalker and long before he became renowned for both live-action and voice roles, already part of Jeannie's extended screen legacy. Fans who watched both I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched sometimes felt a strange familiarity in the suburban exteriors. Behind that déjà vu was a single location, Blondie Street on the Columbia Ranch backlit in Burbank. The facades used for Dr. Bellows' home on Jeannie and for Samantha and Darren Stevens' house on Bewitched were in fact the same structure, redressed with changes in paint, porch details, shutters, and yard decor to create the illusion of separate neighborhoods. Their worlds weren't just similar in concept. They literally shared a front door. Blondie Street went on to appear in many other productions, from The Waltons to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and its demolition in 2023 to make way for new soundstages closed a physical chapter in television history. In the mid-1980s and early 1990s, NBC revisited I Dream of Jeannie through 2 made-for-television movies. I Dream of Jeannie, 15 years later, aired in 1985, with Barbara Eden returning in costume and Bill Daly reprising Roger Healy, while Wayne Rogers stepped into the role of Tony Nelson. By then, Larry Hagman was deeply committed to Dallas, and the reunion shoot fell during his limited hiatus. He chose to protect his break rather than compress his schedule further. A second film, I Still Dream of Jeannie, followed in 1991. Eden embraced every opportunity to revisit the character, attending conventions and anniversary events. While Hagman's path moved on, his association with J.R. Ewing eventually eclipsing his earlier role as Tony Nelson entirely. As I Dream of Jeannie developed alongside Bewitched, both produced by Screen Gems, Bewitched introduced Serena, Samantha Stevens' dark-haired cousin, also played by Elizabeth Montgomery, a mischievous foil who delighted in appending her more responsible relatives' plans. Jeannie answered with Jeannie 2, the genie's brunette sister also portrayed by Barbara Eden. Unlike Serena's largely playful chaos, Jeannie 2 was openly antagonistic, jealous, calculating, and determined to win Toni Nelson for herself and disrupt her sister's life. For Eden, it meant toggling between innocence and scheming within the same production. For audiences, it delivered one of the era's most memorable iterations of the evil twin trope. By the time I Dream of Jeannie reached its 5th season, network tastes were shifting towards socially conscious comedies and more grounded storytelling. After a controversial wedding episode and a season of softer ratings, NBC decided not to renew the series. No formal meeting was scheduled with its star, and no careful announcement was orchestrated. Larry Hagman, returning from a South American vacation, drove to the studio lot to collect personal items from his dressing room. At the gate, a security guard informed him almost in passing that the show had been canceled. For Hagman, who had already sensed the series might be nearing its end, it was less a shock than a confirmation. Still, the casual delivery said much about how quickly a network could close a chapter, even on a well-known show. A fantasy that had begun with an astronaut finding a bottle on a beach ended with a simple sentence at a studio gate, an unceremonious but very real reminder that even television magic is subject to scheduling.